Hey, man.
Ça tue, ça blesse, ça flingue.
Welcome back to the latest episode of the Bench Mob Entertainment Podcast, the best sports podcast in New Jersey. Fellas, how y'all doing? Divisional round is done. We are in the championship round of the NFL playoffs. How are y'all feeling?
Doing good. Playoffs have been great football so far.
I totally agree. I feel better than Caleb Williams tonight. That's what I'll say. Iceman, right? That's what they call him?
Well, he's got a lot to say to his nail tech, so.
Yeah, he has more time for the extracurriculars and whatever he wants to do, for sure.
Y'all gotta stop. Oh man.
Hey, that's how we starting off this episode. It's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna get straight into it. From the teams that, whether they won or lost, which team or teams you feel that you learned the most about from this divisional round?
I feel like the Broncos beating the Bills, it did tell me a lot. Like, Bo Nix played great, which it sucks now that he got hurt basically when the game was just about over. And now somehow this Patriots voodoo magic where they get these crazy runs to the Super Bowl, don't have to face anybody, might line up again. Who knows? But yeah, seeing Bo Nix go toe-to-toe with Josh Allen and outplay him, like, that told me a lot about this kid. Like, they can win with Bo Nix, and it's unfortunate that now they got to rely on Jarrett Stidham to try to get them to the Super Bowl. And another team, I'd say the 49ers. I'm sort of done with this whole 49ers team and giving them chances. Like, I feel like every year there's another excuse that comes up. It's, it's football. Injuries happen. Kittle's out. Another year, Brock Purdy got hurt. Or it's like every year there's another excuse for this team. And sometimes you're not going to get over the hump. Like, they had their chance a couple years ago when they got there with Purdy and lost in overtime to the Chiefs. Sometimes you only get one chance. Like Dan Campbell said, this might have been our only shot. So, yeah, the NFC just keeps getting better. And I just don't know if they'll have enough firepower with how this team's constructed, and their core is kind of aging. Like, McCaffrey's got a lot of tread. Kittle's going to be coming off an Achilles. No more Ayuk because they blew that up. And you got to rely on Ricky. Ricky and Jawan Jennings is a free agent. So I don't know what the team's going to look like next year, but this was kind of like their best chance to do something. Like, if you beat the Seahawks, maybe you make a run, but that Seahawks team is no joke.
I mean, I think Miles is the big one. I will say with the Bo Nix stuff, I owe Broncos fan a formal apology. I think the thing I didn't take into account was Sean Payton's ability to develop a quarterback. At the time when I said what I said about Bo Nix not being great, I felt like I was dead on right with what I saw. The Giants game, I was unimpressed. He played bad for 3 quarters. There were multiple games this year where he played bad for 3 quarters. And in the 4th quarter, he found some magic. He played well. That was the most complete performance I've ever seen from him, and he thoroughly outplayed Josh Allen head-to-head. And Josh Allen's widely considered the best quarterback in football by a lot of people, as you can see, because he can do no wrong, and we can't put any blame at his feet, as these analysts are telling you on social media. So clearly, he could walk on water, and I just didn't know. But Bo Nix is really has played at a high level. He's obviously got great coach in Sean Payton, and deserves a lot of credit for how far he's come as a passer, because he certainly has, and he kept making big throw after big throw in that football game. He deserves credit. Sad that his ankle, about the ankle. I feel bad for Broncos fans. I and I feel bad for football fans in general. It's gonna be a watered down product next weekend up in I believe they play in Denver. I'm not sure if they play. I believe it's Denver they play in for the championship game. So there's that. But the CJ Stroud thing is another thing that with my alarms went off. I was talking to you guys in the chat about it, and I think there's no position in sports where immaturity you can draw a direct line between personal immaturity and performance on the field, like there is a quarterback. You can just pick that up pretty much immediately. And when you see CJ Stroud, like Miles said earlier, running off the field and waving at the fans in Pittsburgh after the game last week, where he literally did nothing. He kind of showed up, and his classmates did all the work, and he got an A+ on the assignment. His classmates being the defense. For him to have the nerve to wave at the defense as if, or wave at the crowd as if he'd done something in that game and he was the one who knocked him out. That was pretty telling about his level of maturity. The clip of him talking to Caleb Williams after that game last year, right, where he's a 7-year veteran who's accomplished so much in the league, right? And that's what you would think. You would think that he's Matt Stafford, and Caleb Williams is the rookie, right? And so it was just a weird thing when there's only a year difference or a 2-year difference between them at that point. So very odd. And then even the podcast spree he went on, right, going out there talking about his how he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, and going on a podcast with Micah Parsons and speaking so freely about the NFL as if he had it all figured out. It kind of reminds me of Anthony Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson never had that level of success, but Anthony Richardson was telling dudes the NFL was much easier than college football for him. And so I just think when you talk about what's wrong with CJ, you obviously he has the physical ability to play at a high level. We know that, but the biggest issue he seems to have is maturity. I think he thought that he believed his own hype. He read his own press clippings. And when you do that, you're liable to get humbled pretty quickly, and especially in pro sports. Like, you really got to approach it like you have not accomplished anything every single offseason. And that's what guys like Tom Brady and those guys do. But I don't understand how a guy like CJ Stroud misses that. He misses that memo and how things work and how you're supposed to approach your craft as a professional. So that was also very telling for me. It was CJ Stroud's performance. I was a believer after year one, but you can't buy in too early. You got to understand the mental makeup of the person. And I'll also say, if you think that what I'm saying right now is nonsense, maybe you think it's not true. Maybe you think, it's not about his personality. On-field stuff is separate. Just look at Baker Mayfield and his whole persona off the field and how it changed when he went to play for the Buccaneers, how it changed when he went to go play for the Los Angeles Rams, when he got humbled and how he had to change and how he suddenly wasn't, nay-naying with, in the middle of circles and all this nonsense, or even the stuff, the extracurriculars after plays, like going to the crowd and being as expressive. He still does that now, but it's just he's more mature and you can see it in the way he talks in interviews and all that stuff. Obviously in college he got into some trouble, right? Had the public intoxication nonsense or whatever at Oklahoma. He had the flag plant nonsense. When you grow up, you become a better player, especially at quarterback. You have to be an adult. There's some truth to it. So that was long-winded, but it's a red flag about CJ. It is, and there's a lot of other examples about his immaturity. But hey, I keep y'all here all night.
Hey, to the Baker Mayfield aspect, one of the things that also factored into what she's talked about is being married, having a child, and finding God. Thing that's a little weird with it. CJ Stroud has one of those already, and I guess you skip that part in the Bible that talked about humility. But that's neither here nor there. That's above my pay grade. Josh Allen, I want to talk to y'all about this. Why do y'all think that Josh Allen has been getting a pass in the mass media aspect? We've seen everybody from Chase Daniels to Dan Orlovsky literally putting out tweets saying, forget about the 4 turnovers. This wasn't on him. Why does Josh Allen get a pass after a 5 turnover game yesterday?
I mean, and speaking to people that I know, the thing I always hear is well, he played well in all of his other postseason appearances, and this is not a common thing. It's not common. That's what I've heard from some people, and I won't say who, but you can figure out what persuasion they are based on what I just said, and it's interesting because it's not untrue. He has played well. I mean, he's had some tough breaks. He wasn't not every postseason loss has been on him. Tyler Bass missed a big kick a couple years ago. He had the big showdown in the fourth quarter where they scored 28 points in 2 minutes between him and Mahomes, and he was on the wrong side of it because he had Mahomes at Tyreek Hill, and he could score in 13 seconds. Yeah, it hasn't all been on him, but the reality is that when you're paid at the clip that he's paid at, right? When he got extended at that big number, that superstar number, and you go out there and you miss these throws that are routine for guys of your caliber, when all year you carried that football team, yeah, I mean the blame's got to be put on you. And in every other sport, that's the way this thing goes, right? If you're the guy, if you're the superstar, if you're the franchise player, and you go come up short in the postseason, no one really cares what you did in the regular season. No one really cares what you did in past postseasons. So no matter what people want to say, no matter how people want to spin it, there's definitely a race element to this thing for 100%, right? Like there's no other way to put it because Lamar has fallen short, right, in similar fashion to Josh Allen yesterday, and I've never seen Lamar implode like that with turnovers to that extent in the postseason. Maybe in a game, like in a postseason game, I've never seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't. I've never seen it with my own two eyes, and with that in mind, you just know you see the way people talk about Lamar and talk about him falling. I saw a crazy graphic posted by ESPN today with CJ Stroud looking like a wounded dog, and they had 4 interceptions in bold right by his name. And I didn't see no graphic like that for Josh Allen yesterday when he had a Looney Tunes at the fumble where he like runs around and like literally like, the pictures of Scooby Doo sound when they try to run, he ain't going nowhere. And if like that, he takes off and he just drops the football when he's carrying a one hand in the middle of the field. And so, when you talk about that disparity and that disparity between the coverage of a white quarterback and a black quarterback, you can act like it's something other than what it is, but it's clearly what it is. We're talking about Josh Allen differently because he's white. It's just the reality of it. That's the reason why people talk about him the way they talk about him. There's no other way to dance around it. I can't tap dance around it. I can't. I'm never going to do that. I'm sure we'll get comments saying, I'm all types of things for saying that, but it's so clearly true. It's so clearly true. He played horrible. He cost him the game. He should be crying after the game. Obviously, he can bounce back, but at the end of the day, that was horrific. That performance by him. He cost him that football game undoubtedly. And the play, I'll say this: the play to Brandon Cooks, where it was, you want to debate about it, where you say it wasn't an interception, it was a catch. That shouldn't even have been a discussion because Brandon Cooks was behind him and he underthrew it, and Brandon Cooks had to come back to it and gave the corner a chance to make a play on the ball. Throw it where you're supposed to throw it, and it's a touchdown or a big gain, and you win the game, right? He catches it comfortably. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of examples. The throw to Dalton Kincaid, these are throws you're supposed to make. I'm sorry. So it's purely his fault. But I could go on all day, like I said.
No,
Now,
I agree.
I ain't nothing to add to that. It is what it is. We know what it is. When I think it was Chase Daniel when he literally tweeted, "Don't focus and don't worry about the turnovers." That is asinine to even tweet something like that. And then some of these people, Chase Daniel has had, if you pay attention to, especially when he wasn't working with, I think it was Fox or whatever anymore. When you look at once he started doing his solo content, it was a lot of different analysis when it came to black quarterbacks, Shadors and of the world. It was very, very different, but it is what it is. That's one of the hardest positions to play in the world when it comes to sports is a black quarterback. Quarterback in general, but black quarterback, you have to be 3-4 times better than everybody else, and you better not ever have a turnover in a crucial moment because it's going to be on your head top immediately.
Look at the way they talk about Cam Newton. People like literally delete his entire career and everything he's accomplished and only talk about that fumble he didn't jump on in the Super Bowl, right? Like it's the only reason why they do it is because he's black. The only reason why they have that conversation, the only reason why they've shaped the narrative around him and his personality and his football character the way they have is because he is a black quarterback. It's just the reality of it. Because if you really want to talk about Cam Newton, you really should talk about how great that guy was. Because the peak he had was unlike any other peak I've seen a quarterback have. Like, that was ridiculous. Like, he was unstoppable at his best. Unstoppable. And for what felt like to a 3-4 year span, like just dominant. I'm probably not even giving enough credit. He came in as a rookie and was pretty great right away, and it just didn't stop until he hurt his shoulder. So I don't know, man. It's you. Like I said, you can be a Stephen A. Smith and dance around this stuff and do the dance and act like you don't know what's going on and all that, but it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And I'm just I'm tired of the pretend around it. It's weird. And I don't like when these guys go on TV, and I get they're trying to protect their money and all that stuff, but like, call it what it is, guys. Like, he's a black quarterback. There's a lot of racism out here. It's out in the open these days, and clearly, Josh Allen is benefiting from the other end of the spectrum here because he's a white quarterback. That's it.
1,000%. And talking about benefiting, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, Miles. Those New England Patriots. I was having a conversation with my sister. This is absolute nonsense, bruh. Y'all have an easy regular season schedule. One of the easiest in NFL history since the merger. Y'all get to the playoffs. Y'all don't have to worry about Mahomes. Y'all don't have to worry about Lamar Jackson. Justin Herbert isn't there. Y'all got rid of what's his face? Y'all got rid of Josh Allen, as we just talked about. And now y'all get a backup. Denver Broncos, Jarrett Stidham. Is there any way in the world that Sean Payton and that defense could somehow pull out a win against the Patriots in your eyes, Miles?
They'd have to keep it at a low-scoring game and hope that the running game and quick passing can help them score some points. But I mean, the Patriots have a good team. I mean, it's not their fault that the Chargers stink when it comes to playoff football, and CJ Stroud's bottom tier quarterback right now. It's not their fault, but like Drake May played solid. The running game, it's a balanced attack. So I don't know how the Broncos do this with Stidham, who, I mean, I heard a stat. He hasn't played a game or started a game in like 765 days or something like that. So this is it's the change for sure. He's used to that clipboard. Now he's holding the football. So it's a home game. At least they get a home game, and maybe Mile High can, it has its effects on, opposing teams when they come into that air. So, but the Broncos, it sucks. It sucks because I was looking forward to seeing the two young quarterbacks, Bo Nix versus Drake May. Like Bo Nix, honestly, I would have taken the Broncos in this game if he was healthy. But yeah, again, they get a little lucky over there in Foxborough. And meanwhile, I can't find a quarterback to save my life in New York. So,
hey, sticking with them, right? So with the Patriots, let's say they win. Do you think the Patriots, Greg or Miles, you can answer, do you think the Patriots are good enough to beat either the Seahawks or the Rams, or this is the buck will stop once they get to the Super Bowl?
I think they could compete with the Rams and potentially beat them. I don't think they can beat the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are the most complete team in football. From top to bottom, I think that the defense is the best defense I've seen in a long time. They fly around. They're faster defensively than most other teams that I've seen. There's no holes defensively anywhere. Like, there's nowhere to really attack them. The defensive line is gross. They just get downhill. I guess the best way to describe it overall is they're the most violent defense I've seen in a long time. They're violent. Like, they're really physical. And they got a nastiness they play with that I don't see many other defenses play with, including that Broncos defense that was great all year and the number one defense in the league for most of the season or whatever it was. I just think the Seahawks defense just plays with a different type of aggression, and they're fundamentally sound. And Mike McDonald's a great coach. He has them humming. So I think any team that runs into them is going to run into a buzzsaw they can't compete with. And I think if the Bears had gotten there, I think we were in for a generationally bad Caleb Williams performance. At least Stafford is a mature, and the veteran quarterback, and so he'll be able to give himself an opportunity to make plays, and he's gonna know what he's looking at. But with the Seahawks, it's like inevitable. Like, you can know what you're looking at, and they're just so good at executing, it doesn't really make a difference. So I think they're getting the championship, and they're winning the whole thing. The Patriots had a great year. They were ahead of schedule. And I know I'm writing their obituary right now on the podcast with you guys, and which people aren't going to like, especially those Bostonians. You know how nasty they can get. But it's just the truth, guys. It's just the truth. that if you watch the Seahawks play, I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion, to be and I thought that it was going to matter that Sam Darnold was a guy who's at IBS in these moments, but he's not going to get put in that situation. Like he is insulated in a great situation over there, and he's protected by a great roster, and he's good enough to make enough plays for them to win a Super Bowl. He's going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. We're going to have to make do with that what we will, but Nick Foles also won one. We ain't running him. We ain't putting him in Canton. So let's not get crazy with the Sam Donald conversation when it inevitably happens. I don't want to hear about no top 5, but you might, because people are, you know how that go.
Hey, if we heard, and we're not going to do it tonight, but after a Eagles win and a black quarterback got put into top 5 conversations, I think it's safe to say Sam Darnold will be put in some of those conversations. If a black quarterback was able to get that, yeah, we might be seeing something on ESPN, Mina Kimes and Orlovsky. Like, is Sam Darnold the best quarterback in NFL? We might see that as an ESPN storyline. Stephen A, Mag Dog, Russo yelling about it. We might definitely see that for sure. Before we talk about the college football playoffs, there's been some coaches that's had some changes.
I have to stop you here because I don't know if we're going to do this or not, but we got to do the dance. We're going to have a conversation about Jalen Hurts. We didn't do it. I don't know if we're going to touch it or not. Maybe it's on the docket. I just want to make sure. I'm not going to dive into it right now. If you have it on the docket, I don't want to interrupt the show because you're great at what you do.
Cook.
Talking about divisional games, right? That we have to have that conversation right now. So I want to understand right now, and like I'm posing this as a general question to the viewing public because I'll give my take, but I just want to know why Eagles fans feel like Jalen Hurts was not at fault at all for what happened in that postseason game they just lost. I'd like to get an understanding of why. I'm coming to you from a place of humility here. I'm not telling you I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking at you. I'm asking because I've seen a couple Eagles fans go, well, you don't outduel Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think someone said twice without that being true. Well, okay. So hold on. So you don't want to add any context to that conversation? Because last I checked, the Eagles D-line dominated the Chiefs O-line in at least one of those games, and Mahomes running for his life. I don't know how you can dominate a football game or even talk about it being a mano matchup, right, where quarterbacks dueled when one guy's offensive line is a sieve and he's just running for his life. Of course, Jalen Hurts is going to look better. He was protected. He played behind a great offensive line. You know what I mean? Like, he played well, but that's just the truth. And the other guy was running. So how can you make the comparison as if it's apples to apples? It doesn't make any sense to me. How about if you really want to do this dance, right? What my counterpoint is, how about we compare the careers of said Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts, and you tell me who's better? Because you love to use a game to justify your you turning a blind eye to damn near anything Jalen Hurts does on the football field. He's allergic to any kind of accountability with the fans in Philadelphia or his front office or the people in the building. Now, I'm gonna say that lightly because I don't want to, we're not getting super slander here, because I think that people in the building are frustrated with Jalen Hurts. I think that's a real thing. I've just based on what you hear from people like LaShawn McCoy, from people who are connected to the situation in Philly, you kind of hear the little the mumbling like, well, Patulo's not fully at fault here because he wanted to complicate the offense, but Jalen didn't want to have a more complicated route tree in there. And I know that our what's it called? Our Fred Hamptons and our Malcolm X's and our all these guys that are listening to our freedom fighters are going to come at me and say, well, look at that. Like the white people are saying that the black quarterback didn't want more complicated plays. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, because if we're being very, very honest, there was never a time where that offense was very complex. Okay, they were talented, and when Kellen Moore was there, they won in the trenches consistently with the run game, and they threw off of that. And these were easier reads because how do you guard them? You can't double anybody. You have to engage 8 with Saquon in the box. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you have no choice. So it makes the game easy and elementary in that sense. It doesn't mean that Jalen Hurts is not capable of running a more complex offense. I'm not saying that you don't have the capacity for it. I'm just saying that that's what it was. It's a matter of fact. It's on tape. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what we all saw in 4K. Although these days I don't know what the hell. You see, I don't know what Eagles fans are seeing. I just don't know. And so I want to understand, like, and watching them play, watching him miss throws, and watching him miss receivers, and watching him, throughout the years. I don't know why it's only the fault of Patullo. I don't know why it's only the fault of A.J. Brown, who A.J. Brown had a bad game. Yes, he ate crow. He talked a lot throughout the year. He dropped passes. It's funny how the game humbles you, right? That's cool. I get that. Okay? When it mattered, he dropped passes. There were some balls he should have caught. Absolutely. But that doesn't sum up the entirety of the game. Jalen Hurts had not played well, particularly well in that football game, and he certainly didn't play particularly well throughout the course of the season. And it wasn't as simple as, oh, these routes are bad. Guys were open, and he did not hit them. That it did happen. It happened periodically throughout the year. So I just want to know, everyone's telling me he was a top 5 quarterback after the Super Bowl and all that stuff. Everyone's telling me all this stuff. I want to know contextually how you can make that make sense for someone who doesn't simply. I don't think he's that. I just didn't think he. I never thought he was that good. I think he's a 10 to 12 quarterback range guy. Like, I think he's in that area, 10 to 12, right? And in his bad years, he might be closer to 15. Like, when he's really not got it going, because he's done this multiple times. It isn't like this is like a thing where it's rare that Jalen Hurts struggles. He has struggled in the past and looked like this in the past. There is a track record of this. You know what I'm saying? When things are not perfect around Jalen Hurts, when the offensive line is not 100% healthy, when everything is not humming as an organization offensively around him, he does not play well. He does not lift the team up. It's not what he does historically. So I just want to get an understanding of what exactly people are seeing, because I can't seem to understand it. I will say this. It warms my heart to see a black guy getting all this carte blanche from people out here, and people are showing him love, and you can't criticize. That's nice. A great privilege. It's awesome. I've never seen this before. This is new to me. Please exercise that on me. Please give me that level of carte blanche of love. I love that. Please, I've done some great things. Please. I don't want any criticism when I say something on this podcast that's crazy. Don't hold me accountable. I love that. But we not holding that guy accountable. I think it's odd. I just want to understand why. That's all I'm saying. Because I don't get it, Tone. I don't get it. You say something crazy on this podcast, they're gonna want to get you. They're gonna run you up out of here with pitchforks. I don't get it. Miles
to be loved, to be loved by black women. It's one of the best things in this world. Is a lovable black woman.
It's a great theory here. It is. But there's like the ESPN analysts aren't crushing him. Like, it's weird. It's like they're not even talking about him. You don't have to crush him. You're not even talking about him. I just don't understand what is going on. I don't get it. It's weird to me. I don't know. There's only so many words I can use to say it's weird. So,
like you said, though, I think it might be it's a kind of a difficult thing for anybody to criticize somebody revered and viewed as the Malcolm X in a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. Like, he's a great guy from what we know. Now we don't know. But I think that plays a factored into it. Everybody loves him. Jalen Hurts. He gets on. He's nice. He has a Kangol hat, a great smile. He's going to answer questions, whether it's a bad game or not. As a reporter, oh my gosh, the lines he gives you, the pickup lines, what? He came up with this quote, if a dog barks and it hollers, he's the Mike Tomlin of quarterbacks. He is great every time he opens his mouth. So that might factor in as to why. I mean, look, tomorrow we have a holiday for a man that we found out later on was getting busy in more ways than one.
Yo. Hey.
If we celebrating him, as far as we know, Jalen Hurts ain't doing that. So Jalen Hurts is really living well compared to what somebody
I just, hey, hey, I just want I want to land. I just want to land the plane and say that people like not like criticizing him at all makes me feel like I might be hallucinating. I didn't see what I saw. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy's he's not at fault. Maybe he's been great. Cause I'm like, why? It's not even a conversation. It's just weird to me. And I say this rhetorically, but this is odd. Like it's one of the more baffling sports stories I ever seen like unfold. Like, so when does it turn? Is it another bad year next year when they hire like a great offensive coordinator and he doesn't play great or something? Like, is that what it is? Because the offensive line isn't as good? Because it's not all about the coordinator. Like their personnel is not the same, and that's the reason why he didn't play as well. That's the truth. So I'm just curious what the line of demarcation is for Philly fans. And look, winning a Super Bowl get you some like some slack.
In
But
Philly
I'm just
too? Yeah.
curious. Yeah, I get
In
that.
Philly?
That's
Yeah.
fair.
And this is the
I
thing.
ain't saying run the dude out of town.
But this is the other thing. We should have known this earlier in the season when AJ was having his complaining and his little subtle jabs. Philly fans was telling AJ to shut up.
They were.
AJ wasn't getting a rock, and it was clear he wasn't getting a rock. And Philly fans was like, "Hey, nigga, shut up, chill
But
out."
you see, you can if they told him to shut up and they were scoring 30 points a game, I'd get that. They were not scoring. He was
But
not
that's my
wrong in what he
point.
was saying.
That's my point. It was clear that AJ Brown, even Miles came on a couple of them episodes and was like, "Yo, they got to get AJ Brown the ball." And Philly fans clearly seeing AJ Brown not getting the ball, having games where Jalen Hurts in the offense literally scores 0 points in the second half. He throws for 30 yards in the second half. And they was like, hey, AJ, not too heavy on Jalen. Chill out. Not too heavy on my
Crazy.
guy. So I don't know. I don't know. It's great to be Jalen Hurts. We'll just leave it at that. It's great to be Jalen Hurts. It's great to be MLK. You can have all the dreams in the world and find out some of them dreams was flawed, and you get a national holiday. Wow, that's great.
I just want to say
Drewski was talking about MLK before MLK. Wow.
I just want to say that in no way, shape, or form are we saying on this podcast that MLK's life work of great civil rights acts is all watered down because he slept with a white woman. We are
Oh,
not
I'm talking
saying
about
that
the
on this
orgies.
podcast.
I'm talking about all them orgies and cheating on Coretta. That's what I was referencing.
Yeah, or that.
He had more than a
We're not
dream.
saying that.
Oh no, everything else, yeah, great. You had a dream, civil rights leader, and all that good stuff. But Martin now, hey,
See what I'm saying? Tone, they're not going to show you grades for this, man. I'm telling you, bro. You're not Jalen Hurts. But what I also will say before we leave is that I want to open the floor to Miles in case he has something to say here because Miles has been awfully quiet about this, and I just want to
he
understand,
told us he
like,
wasn't.
if
He
you can
told us he was
explain,
not. He
if you
told
want
us
to
he was
explain it to
not
me,
doing it.
Right. I said I wasn't doing it.
I'm open to
You're not
hearing it.
gonna bait me into this conversation for the 80th time.
All right, then Miles, let me ask you a serious question. Then, is it at some point did you meet Jalen? Did you guys cross paths? Is there a relation?
See,
Because
I'm not getting baited. Can't bait me.
or at least answer me this question: does he walk around with a pool cue all the time? I feel like he's the kind of dude to walk around with like a Kango and a pool cue all the time. I don't know.
Ooh,
Just Jalen Hurts.
I don't know.
and a glass of Hennessy.
Hey, as one of the names I mentioned in there that people love, and we heard some mixed signals, some mixed responses. Mike Tomlin being out in Pittsburgh. Y'all think that was the right move? You think Mike Tomlin takes a year off? What do you think are the next steps for Mike Tomlin? I mean, we already seen people stalking him, finding out he's with his family, and it was post that, oh my gosh, he's with his family 2 days in a row. He's unemployed currently. He has more time to be with his family. What do you think the next steps for Mike T is?
TV. He's got to do the TV thing for a year. You know, Sean Payton did it for a year or so and then got back into coaching again. I think at some point you got to take a break. Like being a head coach in the NFL, you're basically working. I don't even want to say you take a break, like maybe like 11 months out of the year, And like maybe right after February, it's like, all right, let's chill. But not really, because you got to get ready for the draft. You got pro days, you got all this. So it's nonstop. And I think for Tomlin, after hearing for years or for the last few years, like, hey, do they fire him? Do they make him step down? This, that, and the third. Like everybody's coming for his job, even though, like, sure, you could say like, oh, they've been mediocre for some time now, but the QB play has been very mediocre, and he's found a way to get to whatever 9-8 or 9-7 each year, which it's not easy to do. He's gotten to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph, with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields one year, even with uh, Gandalf the Gray and Aaron Rodgers this year. So I got to give him credit, but you got to take a break, reset. Maybe another job opens up next year, like a better job. Because if you're looking at the landscape right now, what do you got? You got the Titans that are left. Any team that needs a head coach right now is bad. So maybe you get a Bills firing next year, or I don't know, some of these better teams that are being impatient with their head coach. But you gotta take a break for your mental. Travel a little bit, see your kids play in college and all that stuff. Like this is a refreshing break that has been much needed for a few years now. Like, you should have taken the break maybe 2-3 years ago, but you know it's one of the best jobs in the NFL, being the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like they don't fire guys here, so. Um, but I do think there was an ultimatum brought to the table. It's like either you step down, or you become the first head coach fired, and the optics look terrible if the first head coach you fire in the organization's history is the black head coach. So I think he helped out both sides by stepping down.
Hey, somebody that he coached against, that he didn't step down, he got fired, but he was hired very quickly. The Giants did the right thing and did not let that man leave the building, which is what I expected. You're not leaving the building. You're not talking to no other teams. You're not having no other meetings. We gonna lock you in this room, kind of like what they did with DeAndre Jordan. We locking you in this room. You are not going anywhere till you sign on the dotted line. How are you feeling, Greg, about y'all got the guy I wanted? Y'all got your quarterback. Seem at least you feel that way. Some others may not, but you got your quarterback. You got your coach. How you feeling over there for the G-men?
I feel great. I think Giants fans have a lot of reason to feel optimistic about Harbaugh, and the more you read about the Harbaugh signing and how it all went down, it was pretty clear after reading it that he was really only considering the Giants, which is pretty cool. Like that was the main place he wanted to go. He was on phone calls saying, talking about the Giants and referring to the Giants as we. Right? Like he'd been talking about this, and this is something that had been in the works for quite some time, even before people really got a grasp on what was going to happen with Harbaugh, where he was going to go and what he was considering, and if he was going to go to Atlanta, if he was going to go to Tennessee or whatever. But I mean, I think what he brings is instantaneous credibility, something the Giants haven't had in a long time, really since Tom Coughlin, and Tom Coughlin didn't come here as accomplished as him. He brings a ton of winning, obviously, and understanding how to go about winning and what it takes and what the habits of a winner are week to week. You kind of hear about how he's changing the organization around and how it took a long time to sign the contract, and that's because he's making changes to the organization, like grading practices individually for every single player every single day, right? And the analytics, bolstering our analytics department, like just changing the way the Giants operate, which is what you need. Like you need to change this thing, and I think that Giants fans are in for a treat, because you're going to start to see them really start to weed out some of these players that have been here on scholarship and have not earned it. Deontay Banks, comes to mind. I think Darius Slayton with the drops comes to mind. And I like Darius Slayton as a guy, and I think he could be a good player. But you just I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I just think that guys that have been here who have not performed, who are not physical football players, who do not get the job done, will not be here. And it's going to be pretty exciting to see that happen. And, he thinks they can be a playoff team next year. I happen to agree. Lost a lot of close games last year in a tough schedule. It'll be a little bit of a lighter schedule next year. Jackson Dart in year 2. Get him with the right OC and have him develop and blossom and play with the fully healthy complement of receivers and Cam Scatterbull and Neighbors, who I don't think will be back for opening day, but that's a whole different conversation. But I think that when he's out there on the field with him, it'll be a treat to watch. So no, I think Harbaugh is going to change the way that people perceive the Giants. He's going to change the product on the field, and it was the right hire for them. I know people talk about getting the X's and O's guys, not getting the CEO coach. But the Giants have been down the X's and O's route multiple times. That has not worked. You need someone that can command the room and demand respect. I think he's going to do that immediately as well. It'll be interesting to see how it happens with Joe Shane, though. That'll be interesting. Like how it goes after a couple of years of this.
Hey, Miles, on the flip side, right? Did the Falcons get the right guy, the right hire? I've seen at least 10, 15 videos of Falcons fans pissed that they have hired Kevin Stefanski as their head coach. What say you?
I don't know why they'd be pissed. I think Stefanski's not a bad coach. I think he's actually one of the better coaches in the NFL. It's just last couple of years, you got Deshaun Watson playing at a subpar level, clearly not the same quarterback. And then this year, you basically threw the season away because you went into it with Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shador. So it was always against him to win any games this year. But, you look at that Falcons team, really kind of like a QB away and basically one win away from winning the division last year. So they're not that far off from competing in the NFC. Like the defense is good. So they kept Ulbrich on staff. You got weapons on offense, clearly. Like, I don't know if they'll try to keep Kyle Pitts, if they'll franchise him or let him walk, but I would try to do what I can to keep him around. Like, that guy's really good. Drake London, Bijan, like, as long as you have a quarterback that can get them the rock, who knows? They can win. They can win next year. And I don't know if he brings in an outside guy to compete or you keep Kirk around, but that division's not that great. Like the Buccaneers, they're okay. Panthers, kind of the same thing. Like maybe Bryce Young takes a step next year, but he's been kind of inconsistent throughout his career. So the division's up for grabs. You could come in and win the division year one. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. So I think it's overblown, kind of looking at Stefanski as this like bad coach when sometimes it's the situation you're dealt. Like the defense did all they could. Offensively, what are you supposed to do when you got Jerry Jeudy as your number one? Judkins can't really run behind that offensive line. It's hard to be successful with that team. So
can I say that I think that was a dead end job and that he went to the Browns on the East Coast because they have everything but the quarterback. That's just my read on it. I think if he sold himself to Arthur Blank and Matt Ryan, and it was basically rooted in the idea that he's going to turn Penix around and get him to be more consistent in his offensive system. And I think Penix is a better quarterback than Shador Sanders or anybody he had over in Cleveland outside of Baker Mayfield. But I don't have much belief in Penix. I don't think he's mobile. I don't think he does a great job when the pocket's breaking down and moving around and still being able to keep his eyes on the field and make great throws on the move. I think when he has to move past his first read and it's muddy, like, and you can't tell what's going on with what the defense is trying to do. You struggle, like he really struggles deciphering what the defense is doing and being decisive with the football and making good throws. So there's a lot to kind of fix there, and I think taking that job is a risk. I get there's only 32. How many jobs there are in the NFL? Very few. But I have real concern for a guy like Stefanski taking that job or anybody. I would have said this about anybody because there's no quarterback there, and because there's no quarterback there, that's a risky proposition. That's just my take.
but they're not tied to Penix. Like this new regime coming in,
That's true. That's true.
they could evaluate it and be like, hey, this guy's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And Raheem Morris and those guys before made a mistake drafting him. So they go into 2027. If they lose games, then they got a better shot in a allegedly stronger draft. And they could also draft one of these developmental guys, like a Nussmeier in the draft or a Drew Aller to sit behind this guy, and then maybe you catch lightning in a bottle with one of those guys. But yeah, I don't think he's gonna. Sure, he'll try to fix Penix for what it's worth, but that's not his guy.
I only say this too about that is, it's not a guarantee you find a quarterback, obviously, and it's not a guarantee that you survive the duration of how long it takes to find one, right? It takes forever to find a quarterback. People talk about it like, oh, they're just a quarterback away. Well, is finding a quarterback easy? I mean, ask teams that have quarterback starved. It's not easy. So it's always a risk taking a job where there's no quarterback firmly in place. Even if the ownership group tells you, oh, we're going to be patient. We're going to be looking for a quarterback to help you, because they're not going to be that patient. They're going to fire you if the fan outcry gets loud enough, and if you're not performing, if the team isn't performing up to standard with all the talent on the roster, and you pay Bijan and the guy, people get impatient, you'll be the first one to get axed, because owners don't fire themselves and GMs don't fire themselves. They're the last to go typically. So I think it's a risky proposition taking a job where there's no quarterback. That's why when people said Harbaugh was going to the Falcons, I never believed it for 5 seconds, because it's just like, I don't know why you would when there's no quarterback there. The Titans and the Giants were the two best jobs on the market for that reason outside of the Ravens. And the Titans are going to curse my man Cam Ward with a Matt Nagy or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see. He's a finalist. It's crazy. And they even interviewed Arthur Smith. I think is it Smith? Is Smith his last name? I think it is, right? The offensive coordinator. I think it is.
Yeah.
And they interviewed him, which is pretty embarrassing. So I feel bad for him, and he's in a poverty franchise, but it is what it is, man.
Tough times. A quarterback that most would say is probably going to be the top quarterback drafted, Mendoza, in the championship game against Miami. What's your picks for the national championship game? How you see that one going?
I think Indiana's going to win. I think they're the most complete team in college football. It's not a fun pick. It'd be much more fun if Miami made it a game, and I think Miami will make it a game. I think the pass rush is vicious. I think they'll make it a game. It'll be interesting. They could win in the trenches. But Indiana is just the most complete, most well-coached team in college football. And for Mendoza's played the cleanest football of any quarterback in this class and in college football to this point. So I'm going to go with them. But I would not be surprised if this game was tight going into the fourth quarter, and it could be a coin flip at that point.
No, yeah, I'm picking Indiana in this game, just off the strength of Mendoza. He works quick. He gets that ball out and puts it on the money. Feels like every time. So, yeah, that pass rush could give him some issues, but he's dealt with the pressure a little bit this year. And the Indiana team, it's a veteran team. I mean, all those guys might not have been with the team from freshman year, but with the portal, you get these older prospects that come in and they're ready. You're not facing like 19-year-old kids. Like, this is what college football is now. You can get these older guys to come, and they got a hell of a team now. Cignetti's probably a better coach than Cristobal, but the power to you. Michael Irving's definitely going to be out there barking, ready for them to win this game, and I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it could be close. But this game really depends on Carson Beck, which Carson Beck we get. Like the one we got in the semifinals, they could compete and they could win with Carson Beck playing like that. He played great in that semifinals game. But this Indiana team is the best team that we've seen all year.
Definitely will be interesting to see tomorrow because, like you said, when you talk about whether Carson Beck shows up, which one we get, but also that defensive line. It's some first round picks that's going to be playing in that championship game for sure. Lottery picks, early picks that are playing on both sides of the field for both of those teams. NBA trade deadline is around the corner. Who do y'all think? Who comes to mind as some names that you think will be moved, should be moved? Like, I know one name that is out there that is a hot name because he has been playing some of his best basketball is Michael Porter Jr. Do y'all see MPJ getting moved? Possibly where? Or do the Nets stay pat? Because that's a nice piece to have going into the future.
A lot of conflicting rumors and reports about it. I mean, I think if you could get the Warriors post Curry first round picks, and you get one that's unprotected, I would consider doing it. In spite of the fact that I like Michael Porter Jr. and I like what he's done this year, and I think he could be a piece that helps the team moving forward. And I do think the team's going to look to be competitive in the next few years, and including next year, just kind of take a step forward. And he could be a guy you move forward with in that way. I think the Nets can't lose here. Whether you trade him, whether you don't, you could justify keeping him. You could justify trading him if you get the proper amount back. And I think this situation with Porter Jr. could not have worked out any better for the Nets because you're selling high if you sell high. You're selling on him, and that's the best thing you could have asked for. He's come here and he's played better than anyone could imagine. He's an all-star. I think unequivocally he's an all-star and played that way. So it's been a win from that aspect. But it's about how many unprotected firsts you can get and how many picks you can get from teams that don't have a good outlook in the future, right? That's the biggest thing. So I hope that can happen. I hope you can get at least one for him. It'd be fun if that were the case, and I'd understand the move on Sean Mark's part. But you know what? I will tell Nets fans this and the general public this, that at this point, I think Sean Marks deserves a little bit of confidence. He's done a really good job. He was right about Demon when no one thought he would be. He was right about his draft picks, Drake Powell, all these young guys, when people thought he was crazy and that it was the worst draft class ever, and that clearly is not true. They're all very productive players. So I have a lot of faith in that guy to make the right transaction here and make the right move for the franchise, and hopefully get the Nets to a point where they are the Thunder East, because you have a million picks and it'd be fun. You just need that centerpiece guy like a Shea, and hopefully that happens in this class, this upcoming draft class.
Hey, on that flip side, you mentioned the Warriors, Miles. I think it's safe to say we know Kuminga is going to get moved or needs to get moved. Somehow the Warriors don't move him. I would really feel bad for Kuminga because he probably might not play for the rest of the season. We might see Chris Paul play a game before Kuminga plays a game in a Warriors jersey again. We've heard a couple of teams. We've heard maybe sending them to Brooklyn, maybe sending them to Sacramento. Where do you think would be the best fit? Who should be calling for Mr. Kuminga?
I'd say Sacramento's a good spot, like you said. They don't really have much going on over there. They got a lot of older vets that it's not going to amount to anything for the future. So you got to kind of start preparing for the future. And I mean, Kuminga, if you give him minutes, he's looked solid. It's just tough in that Golden State system where they try to, hold you into this one role. And I know he sees himself a lot bigger in a bigger role. Like, he can be a guy that you rely on that can get you like 20 points a game and be pretty solid. So that was never going to happen in Golden State, and it's been one of the more, I guess, frustrating situations that we've seen in the NBA for him to be kind of in and out of the rotation. They re-sign him. He plays early this year, looked good, and then now he's out of rotation again. And you kind of feel bad for him, but it's kind of the business. So hopefully he goes to Sacramento. I don't know how Greg would feel about him on Brooklyn, but I mean, I wouldn't want him to go to Brooklyn, because that would mean you'd have to give up assets for him. And
who?
For Kuminga.
No, you won't. I don't know. People are reading the room here. He has no value on the market right now. They have to pay people to get rid of him. I think I listened to a podcast with his agent and Brian Windhorst and his agent was talking about how Kuminga was playing great basketball. He was selling him to Windhorst. And, he's playing great basketball, and he was going to he could make $20 million a year on the market. Blah blah blah. No, he can't. Like, he's not that good. He has not proven anything in the NBA. He's played well in a couple spurts. It is a big indictment on his game that Steve Kerr cannot use him on a team that is frankly unathletic and old, and they still don't see the need to play that guy. Clearly, something is wrong with him. It's not a Steve Kerr problem. I think people need to be honest about this thing. He has not been good. He's a depreciating asset. He's not a guy who you're looking to add to your roster because to make you better, make your team better. I saw a report saying the Lakers like Kuminga. I'm like, that's got to be me. That's got to be an agent-driven report. There's no way that's true. What did you see about Kuminga's game that you thought, hey, that's what we need right now? We need to put a non-shooting, the 6'8". He's fast and athletic, but non-shooting. He can't shoot the basketball. He doesn't seem to be a particularly smart basketball player either. Next to Luka Doncic. Oh yeah, that's exactly what the Lakers need right now. Another guy who can't shoot the ball. Yeah, please. I think that this whole thing with Kuminga has been misplayed and really messed up by people who are managing the situation, by his agency, by himself, right? Like, just not being willing to make this thing work in Golden State, right? But the Nets, if they took him back, it'd be as a like a cherry on top. It'd be like a throw-in in the trade, right? That's what he'd be, a throw-in. Like, truly, at this point in his career, he has proven absolutely nothing in the NBA. And there has never been a time where I've watched Kuminga play where I'm like, I'm impressed. I'm intrigued. I don't see him as a particularly smart basketball player. I never understood like the hype, like the initial hype. They picked him at pick number 7 in the first round. They wanted to make it work. It didn't work in a situation where it should have worked. Right? It was hard for it to mess up. You went to a great situation. That's an indictment on you, man. That's not about the Warriors. I'm sorry. No way.
Jersey. Hey, you mentioned the Lakers. If the Lakers do that, that might be another team that I give up my fandom. I gave up the Cowboys fandom.
Wow.
If the Lakers trade for Kuminga, I might have to. I'm just a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of the sport. If the Lakers pull that one off, but we talking about agents going on podcasts and an agent trying to sell to Wendy Kuminga. He had to go on Wendy's pod. Rich Paul, on the other hand, has his own podcast. Is it time for Rich Paul to end the podcast already? Is he ruining the Lakers?
I think the Lakers are ruining themselves by themselves. I don't know, man. I mean, Miles, I'll give you your take on it because I think you might say something different than I might say about it. But I have my thoughts. I'll let you go though.
I feel like it's all strategic, kind of like. I don't think you'd go out and say all these things if there wasn't something behind it. Like you bringing up Austin Reeves when I want to say it's like a conflict of interest, but like your main biggest client is on that team and they're not playing well and they're trying to win. Yeah, if they're not listening to you, how do they hear you? You say it on a podcast. You say you air your grievances through your agent on a podcast. And yeah, he can try to separate himself all he wants and say that, oh, that's my agent. I don't have anything to say with it. You don't talk to your agent? That's the same thing with Giannis saying that, oh, these rumors of me wanting out and all that stuff, that's my agent. I leave that stuff up to my agent. I call BS on all that stuff. Like, all these things get out for a reason. And yeah, Rich Paul doing a podcast with Max Kellerman, who isn't exactly trying to steer him away from, being a little messy. I think he wants that for the podcast. So yeah, if you're a Lakers supporter, if you're in that organization, this is the worst thing for the team because yeah, it can really separate the locker room. But yeah, LeBron's at the end of his career. Like he's trying to win. They're not listening to him. Luka's the main focus of this team now. So things that they're trying to do are in preparation for building around Luka, not building around Bron. But yeah, it's funny seeing Rich Paul, get on this podcast, talk about, yeah, Reeves. He would look good in Memphis. Like, damn. All right, that's bold of you to say. And then to say you want like a Jaren Jackson in return. All right, you're not a GM. Not many agents can become GMs. Although there's one that we know of, but well, there's a couple, Bob Myers and Palenka, but I definitely say Bob Myers is the better of the two when it comes to making decisions and making moves. So
My take on it is simple. I think this whole thing is BS. I think the fact that we're talking about Rich Paul and his podcast is stupid. I think people making it a story is stupid. I don't care what Rich Paul's opinion is. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You know what matters is the fact that LeBron is 41 and played 5 games and 7 nights for the Lakers. The Lakers have been horrible down this stretch here because they're unathletic and not young and they can't shoot. Right? We know the drill. And the Lakers told you before the season started that they were going to punt this season. They said, hey, we're not going to build around this nucleus anymore. We're not going to build around LeBron James or we're not going to build with LeBron James being on the roster anymore. We're going to wait till Luka is the core centerpiece, and we're going to add either a superstar or we're going to build a team around him in 2027. That's what they told the fans. And for a roster, for a franchise that is, puffed their chest out for years. And look, had success, but puffed their chest out for years. And the way the Yankees have, the same way. The brand is championship or bust every single year. Championship every single year. That's what they preach to the fans. For that to be the mentality that they take when you have a 41-year-old LeBron James that's playing at this high level right now and still giving the organization everything that he has and being a professional about the situation, even though he's clearly upset. He's clearly upset. And Rich Paul, on some level, is probably speaking for Bron. I don't doubt that, okay? Like, he's speaking for Bron. Like, Bron is not happy about it. Bron's pissed off. Everything Rich Paul says kind of aligns itself with this idea that the Lakers need to go all in. And in fact, Rich Paul directly said it. He was like, it's stupid to punt a year. He specifically said that. There's a clip of him saying it's stupid to punt a year because you don't know what you're going to get year to year. You don't know if Luka's going to have an injury in the next year. You can't gauge that. You don't know. So it's stupid to punt on seasons as if, health is a guaranteed thing you can just count on. But Palenka's sitting there, right, on his hands, ready to wait LeBron out and let him leave the organization to this so they can then build a winner. What gives you confidence in the fact that they can build a winner? Everything Palenka's ever done has been handed to him. AD, the move was handed to him. LeBron, the move was handed to him. The job was handed to him after Magic Johnson left. He didn't even get the LeBron thing to happen. Magic Johnson was there when it happened, right? The Luka trade, crazy, right? Handed to him. So I just think Lakers fans need to be worried about the approach of their front office. And you better hope that Mark Walter steps in here and starts to throw his weight around a little bit and go into the luxury tax and build out a winner real soon and maybe interfere. Because, again, Lakers fans are very, they're pompous. They got a lot of confidence because they've seen a lot of winning. But the reality of it is that this organization is not operating like a team that has made that promise to the fans. And I think that's the thing that's really I'm focused on. Like, it's embarrassing to me, as if just from the outside looking in, being a LeBron fan, like how this is all going down. Management's been terrible for most of its time there. If we're being honest, it's been bad. It's not been a good stretch, and it's not because of Bron. It's not. Anytime you hear a Lakers fan say that, it's because they got this weird loyalty to Kobe, as if Kobe and Bron had some kind of beef, but Kobe loved Bron. It's weird. Like, Lakers fans are weird. LA dudes are weird. Like, LA people are weird. I've heard that conversation. It's odd, but the moral of the story, I don't want to get off track. I just think it's something that we need to monitor is what the Lakers are actually going to do. What walk the walk. And if you walk the walk and you punt on this year, well, I think it's a red flag and concerning about the future of this organization. That's just me.
I do think there is some validity to Rich Paul. Got to be careful with what he does say because there have been reports from Lakers insiders that it is causing a rift for, at least on the Austin Reeves side, of, hey, you're openly talking about trading me, and I would be offended. You're talking about trading me for a 6'11" dude that doesn't average over 5 rebounds. What the heck? That's out of all people? Yeah, terrible. I completely, bypass. So we talking about Memphis. Y'all think Ja gets traded? Ja has made it clear that he wants to stay. He pointed out in the press conference, I think today or yesterday, he pointed out, I have Memphis tatted on my back. He played extremely well. 13 assists, I believe, 25 points. Will he get traded or could they actually reconcile the situation?
No, I don't think they
There's a
can reconcile it. I think whatever happens, they should try to trade him at the deadline. But again, that's the same thing I'd say with the AD thing. Is like you might just have to wait until the off season because you don't want to try to rush the trade and you know because you put yourself up against this deadline doesn't mean you have to take an offer just to take an offer to get him out of here. Like I'd wait until the off season, let it play out, um, and yeah, let the chips fall where they may. But I don't think this is a guy you can build around anymore. I think after the suspension, that was already like writing on the wall. Like this is a guy we can't trust. Like you've lost our trust when it comes to being that franchise cornerstone. Um, so yeah, I don't know what their draft pick situation is like right now. The goal shouldn't be to win. Like you shouldn't be trying to win. So in that case, yeah, um, maybe try to trade him at the deadline, see what you can get. But if it's a low ball offer, I'm not doing it. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Hey, do you think you say wait till the offseason? Do you think that the Knicks should wait till the offseason concerning Cat?
Uh, yeah, I think you should wait until the off season. It'd be tough to. They're in a slide right now, and they haven't played good basketball. A lot of conflicting things going on. I don't know, something behind the scenes happened, but yeah, Cat hasn't looked good in this Mike Brown system. And I mean, we've seen Cat play great at times, but he's not a guy that I believe in building around that you can win a championship with. Like he gets in foul trouble. He's kind of goofy out there, and he really wants to play on the perimeter. He doesn't want to bang down low. And I don't know with a Jalen Brunson backcourt in Towns, you can't have two guys who don't really play defense. Like, sure, Jalen tries. Cat, I don't know. Like that clip was concerning of him not getting back on defense. But that's kind of like what you heard last year that guys were frustrated with Cat on defense. And I mean, the best thing to do is maybe put him in a Giannis trade or try to send him off somewhere that you're bringing in something that can help you win a championship. But Cat, I don't believe can help us win a championship anymore. I lost faith in that, and I don't know. I don't think they're going to do a big trade at the deadline unless the Giannis button gets pressed. But I don't think that gets pressed at the deadline. I think that's a summer thing. Um, so yeah, I could see them doing a little band aid and getting like an Alvarado from New Orleans. You know, you got to have a pesky guy off the bench. We don't have enough pests on this team, and frankly, this team is kind of soft. Like they kind of get pushed around a little bit by like Golden State the other night, or some of these other teams like Detroit. They come in here and punk the Knicks, and I mean, Cat doesn't add anything when it comes to making us a tough basketball team. So I don't know. I was a lot more confident when we were around the tournament, the in season tournament. But right now, things are not looking pretty good. Like Jalen's out, Cat, you should be going off right now. Like Jalen's out, you're the guy. And we're not seeing enough of that. We're seeing a lot of like 18 and 10, 20 and you should be dominating. And he's not dominant enough for me. So
Hey, I'll say this in defense of Cat. You knew coming in that I cheated on all of my exes. I've always cheated. And you thought you was gonna be the different one to change me, and I would certainly be faithful. Karl Anthony Towns has always had the MO, terrible fouls, not disciplined on defense. Sometimes he doesn't have the motor for the defensive side, settles too often for the jumpers and the threes. You had this discussion before the trade even happened when it was rumored of him coming over there. That's the only thing is the thing with Cat is like, especially once you get to that point, we've seen it. It's not many times where we see players 6, 7, 8 years in, 9 years in, 10 years in, where they actually can change and alter their game to be better, to win. So that's the thing that sucks with Cat. You would hope he would buy in on that end, but you can't change the stripes on the tiger. It is what it is. We're gonna end off the show with this one, right? You mentioned Mark Walter earlier, and hopefully that's the only hope I feel as a Lakers fan that will present the Lakers to be back on top is Mark Walter. It's not Luka because Luka only plays one side of the floor. My hope is in Mark Walter coming in and doing what he's doing over there with those Dodgers. What he's doing with the Dodgers, though, we talked about this maybe 2 months ago and was like, nah, salary cap, no, we don't need it. Don't do the salary cap. But with now, since then, they've added on 3 more players that are all stars to that roster. Do you think now, with this happening, more teams are going to be open to like, hey, we need a salary cap because the Dodgers are ruining baseball?
Yeah. I mean, I look at him or look at what the Dodgers are doing the same way the Eagles were managing their cap and kind of like hiding it for later on down the line. Like you can keep all these guys and it doesn't make sense, but it's because they're pushing the cap down the line. Same with these contracts that these guys are signing in MLB where they're deferring all this money 10 years down the line. So yeah, Otani's making what, like $2 million a year? But he's getting what off the field? Maybe like 50, 60 million. So yeah, he can do that. He can help the team out, allegedly. But I don't know. Maybe we'll need who's that guy? Pablo Torre to come on and look into this because it doesn't make any sense how this Dodgers team is able to just be fine with paying the fine, the luxury tax. For them, it's like $140 million that they have to pay because they're so far over the luxury tax. So, I mean, it works. They're winning, and somehow they signed Kyle Tucker this offseason, which $60 million, it's outrageous money for a guy like that. So, yeah, at this point, yeah, we had talked about it. No salary cap because it hurts the players and their earning power in the MLB. But at this point, it's got to be done. You're going to have to do it. There's going to be a lockout, and in order to save baseball in a way, yeah, you're going to have to. It's going to be a Dodgers tax. Like that's what this is all going to be. Like other teams aren't spending like the Dodgers. You're seeing contracts that aren't outrageous, but here come the Dodgers throwing 4 years, 240 at Kyle Tucker, when we haven't seen anything close to that in the offseason. And teams want to get better. They want to compete. How do you compete? The Yankees do it by doing trades, and that's the only way to do it right now if you don't have money, which apparently Hal Steinbrenner is lacking money. So that's what we have to do as a Yankees organization. But yeah, the Dodgers, they've kind of broken baseball. It's hard to watch when on one team you've got Mookie Betts, former MVP. You've got Shohei Ohtani, arguably the best player we've ever seen. You've got any pitcher you want. You get a young hitter in Kyle Tucker, who, I mean, we thought he was going to get a lot more money. Turns out, yeah, I'm going to take this deal from the Dodgers. So, yeah, it is frustrating to watch.
I think it's It's not just the money piece of it that's the problem. I think the Mets do similar things, like maybe not the deferrals, but the front loading contracts and paying guys a lot of money in short term deals or whatever, and like the money's there. But I think the biggest problem that baseball has is the fact that not only do they have the most money, the Dodgers, but they also have the lore of Los Angeles. Like, why would I take a similar contract? Because like it was a similar deal that he passed up with the Mets, Kyle Tucker. So why would I take the same amount of money if I'm gonna go play in the cold? I'm gonna go live in Los Angeles. I've been to Los Angeles, guys. It's really nice. Like I'd rather live there. Like then with money, yeah, I'd rather live there. So it's the lore of Los Angeles that's winning the guys over too. You can't have both. You can't have all the money and have the lore, the geographical lore of going to play in a place like Los Angeles. Like it's just too enticing, and there's no place that really competes. Living in LA is really enjoyable for people with the weather, and the weather is wonderful. Like it's really great. So I can see that it's just too many things to combat for other baseball teams. And aside from the money, aside from that, right? There aren't many other baseball cities you want to live in, or sports cities you want to live in, or cities in general than LA. So I think that's another big issue too. Like I've come to expect that people will go to the Dodgers if they have the chance to, because again, I'm going to go play for a championship organization. They I have a great chance to win, but also I get to live in Los Angeles. Like that's a big draw. So they'll go to the salary cap for all the reasons Miles said, but I think that's another one too.
Hey, most definitely. But we have a lot to look forward to. College football championship game. We got the NFL playoffs. NBA's ratcheting up. Trade deadline should be fun. But that's a wrap on this here episode. Y'all know the vibes here. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Bench mob, we out. Peace.